What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I'm your host, Nick, and I am with a bunch of people, including Chrissy, the Social Syndicate, and a bunch of callers who I'm pretty confident I saved their lives. I don't know.
You do.
Did I? I don't know.
Every single person who calls in, it's like life-saving. Should get you a shirt.
Very
Lifesaver.
gracious, but it's I can't thank them enough for taking the time to share their stories. It's not easy to do. It's vulnerable. It's scary. Sometimes we don't like the answers that we give, but we know deep down it's what we need to do. And I hope you guys are enjoying listening to them. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com. We know everyone has problems.
Yeah.
So feel free to share. Feel free
And
to.
then you get to talk to me when you email us.
A lot going on. We have a wonderful Bachelor Recap coming up with the wonderful Rachel Harris. You might know her from the very hit show on Netflix, Lucifer. She was in the Hangover movie. Wonderfully funny, hysterical. Also a big Bachelor fan. She helps break down The Bachelor with us. And on Wednesday, get ready for Kelly Mee Lee from the hit show Bling Empire. It's a reality TV version of Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the Netflix version of Crazy Rich Asians.
It's wonderful. It's wild. It's nuts. You'll love it.
You have to ask Nick her.
We're gonna have some fun with her. All things
bling bling.
All things bling bling. So be sure to check that out. Make sure to follow us on social.
Don't forget our merch.
Don't forget we have merch. ViallFiles.com. Hoodies, t-shirts, breakup books.
We're going to spice it up a little bit. So check out the
We're
website
always dropping.
to make sure.
We're going to be dropping new merch all the time. Be looking out for that. Other than that, send those questions. Always like to remind our Ask Nick people, go ahead and give us some 5 stars. Go ahead and send us some reviews.
It's not hard.
Really appreciate it.
Just click a button.
Just know that when you're giving us the 5 stars, I'm thinking of you. And if I could, I'd give you a warm embrace and just say thank you.
That's all you want.
To the callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Victoria, and I am 33.
Hi, Victoria. How can I help?
Well, I'm calling in about my marriage. We have been married for nearly 10 years, and we are just in a really bad spot, honestly. A little bit of backstory. We met when I was 22, married at 23, and everything was pretty great. We were best friends. And during our dating life, I did notice some red flags, but I kind of looked past them. Got married, and things kind of fell apart pretty quickly with my family. My mom passed away. We had a miscarriage, and then 3 years of infertility. So everything was pretty rocky for the most part. Now it's just, we have a 5 and a 3-year-old, and we're not connected at all.
Do you remember any good times?
Yes, I do. Like I said, we had a great dating, beginning, but we were kind of always on 2 different schedules. I worked a lot of nights. He worked a lot of days. So we really were intentional about the time that we spent together. But at the same token, I think we became like our own identity and not so much as a couple. So we forgot how to be a couple,
Sure.
I guess, until I moved jobs. And then, and then we didn't really know how to be together all the time.
Obviously, you've been married for 10 years, and it sounds like you guys had your problems. So, what's prompting you to call in now, and what specific questions that you have that maybe I could have an opinion on, other than
There's a lot of different things that we don't really agree on. Parenting style, religion now has been an issue for us.
That's a new issue?
I'm a Catholic, not so much practicing anymore, but my faith is a pretty big deal to me. He had voiced at the beginning, before we had kids, before we got married, that he was interested in that part of my life, but that, he would accept it, he would be supportive of it. And as the years have gone on, not very supportive.
And what do you describe not supportive?
Like if I mention to the kids about my mom being in heaven. Sorry, I get a little emotional when I talk about her.
It's okay.
But he's like, well, there is no heaven. Or
So it's not, he doesn't just let it slide.
no. Even in conversations with like family or friends, he'll kind of make jokes about it. Like he just doesn't believe in God at all.
Okay.
So he's kind of passive aggressive about it, thinks it's kind of funny.
So he's saying, is it a joke? I mean, does he have like an actual problem with your kids believing in the possibility of a higher power?
I really believe so, but he's never actually voiced it.
Okay. Well, I mean, what do you like? Where are you at right now? Like, what? It sounds like you're not happy in your marriage and you're considering your options. Yeah. Or
Yeah, I'm really tossing the divorce idea at this point.
what's stopping you? I mean, from the obvious of, hey, divorce is difficult. There's a financial component. There's obviously the family component of your kids. But what are there specific reasons why you would stay versus go? I mean, this sounds like a weighing the pros and cons situation.
So when I dig deep into it, a lot of it is like the unknown of like being a single mom, the financial aspect of it, because we've built a pretty good financial life together. No debt. We never wanted the finances to be an issue in our marriage. So we've been pretty good about that part, but separately, it would be hard for me to be a parent on my own and still have the things that I want for my kids.
So if you got divorced, he would stop being like, do you have very little expectations on his ability to co-parent in a separation situation?
Yeah, I do. Because he can be very cold. Even in arguments, if I'm like, hey, can we talk about this? He's like, no, I don't really want to talk about it. Or
I mean, what's he do now? I mean, the way you're describing him, he sounds like a total deadbeat. Like, what? I mean, is there?
The great things about him, he's a great father. He is
a great father. So if you got separated, you think he'd stop being a great father?
No, but I think he would make it harder on me. He would make it very difficult for me to be happy without him.
Do you think he is he aware of your disappointment in the relationship?
Yes.
Does he care?
It's a lot of it's very like, he has a lot of issues with me and I have a lot of issues with him, but I'm willing to talk about them and he's not really wanting to talk about them or wanting to try to get better in those areas. So I'm very open to his feedback. A lot of his big things was, he works more than I do hours wise. So he wants me to do more around the house, more cooking, more cleaning. So that way he can have his relaxing time. He made it very clear to me over the last month that he's very unhappy with our sex life.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of like great feedback that I get from him most days.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, it sounds like you guys aren't obviously communicating effectively. I can't imagine guy or girl, two people who would want to put themselves in such a miserable situation. I mean, you sound miserable.
I am, but he's very comfortable in the life that he's built. So he's not miserable in the sense of like, he likes the idea of our family, but he's not really willing to put the work in for it.
So is he fully aware of how miserable you are?
He doesn't know that I'm like on the breaking point.
Okay. Well, that might be time to make him aware.
I guess that's kind of part of the issue is I don't know how to voice that because I'm very nurturing. I care deeply about him because I've put his needs before mine for so long. I don't know how to break that barrier.
I guess I don't have a specific answer or like an exercise you can do, but I think you just need to start prioritizing your needs. I mean, it's just one of those things where you can't help how you feel, right? Like right now, you sound miserable, sad. I don't know how you are when you're, not talking about it with friends. I suspect if you have a girlfriend or a friend or a relative that you have, or is a confidant that you talk about too, you probably sound the same. But I think it's at this point, you're running out of options to try to mask your feelings. I mean, you just got to be honest with the guy and make it very clear. I mean, you're only 33,
Yeah.
you can't be miserable for that much longer without, you're just going to reach a breaking point. Don't give him things he doesn't deserve at this point. It's never a bad time to support your healthcare professionals in your life, and whether there's a pandemic or not. And Figs is a great way to support the healthcare people you love, because everyone likes being comfortable and looking stylish. And in the healthcare world, scrubs sometimes traditionally have been not as comfortable and not as stylish. And Figs is kicking ass in the scrubs game. They have a variety of colors, a rainbow of colors, if you will.
Rainbow
to select from. The important people in my life who are healthcare professionals can't say enough about their Figs. They've stolen mine, and I'm happy to allow them to do that. And also, if you're not a healthcare professional and you want really comfortable loungewear, Figs. If you want to look like a doctor because, people think doctors are hot, grocery shop and Figs.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's a good way to get a date. Grocery shopping some Figs.
Good
and maybe someone will
conversation
pick you up because they think you're awesome.
It's like, oh, you're a doctor? Oh, no. It's like, why?
Oh, man.
But
how about we go on a date?
You're allowed to wear scrubs at the grocery store. It's not their fault they think you're a doctor.
No, it's not their fault that you like functionality, softness, and comfortability.
That's right. So if you are one of the awesome humans who are working healthcare, or you just want to look like a doctor, Figs wants you to wear the scrubs that you deserve and enjoy 15% off your first order. And if you're not working the front lines, as we discussed, there's many ways and reasons why you should also have Figs. You can also get 15% off too. Use code VIALL15. That's VIALL15 at checkout. Head to wearfigs.com, that's WEARFIGS.com, and enter my code VIALL15 at checkout. Get ready to love your scrubs. I'm down to support any company that was started by a couple named Rich and Vicky. It just sounds like a nice little company I want to support. Turns out they also make the best sheets and towels and hand towels and loungewear in the world. Added bonus of supporting a cute little company called Brooklinen because their owners are named Rich and Vicky. It's just adorable. Brooklinen has over 50,000 5-star reviews and counting. The most important review is mine because Brooklinen is awesome. And I swear to God, if you put on their sweatpants and sweatshirts, you will never want to take them off. It's completely amazing and truly unbelievable. So pillows, towels, loungewear, hand towels. They have other things as well to put around your house that all look good. They even offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. Well, that is truly unbelievable. Almost crazy. But they do it. So it's 2021.
Rich and Vicky.
Yeah, Rich and Vicky.
They're crazy. They're
crazy.
Crazy
Cats doing crazy guarantees. But you know what? It's to your benefit. And in 2021, do something nice for yourself and start the new year right by adding some Brooklinen in your life. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code VIALL and get $25 off when you spend $100 or more, plus free shipping. That is BROOKLINEN.com and enter code VIALL to get $25 off when you spend $100 or more, plus free shipping. Brooklinen.com and use promo code VIALL at checkout. I wouldn't spend a lot of energy trying to pretend you don't feel a certain way, or hide your feelings. If he, when he brought up he wasn't happy with your sex life, did you guys have a conversation about that, or did you just leave the room? And I can imagine how that might hurt your feelings. Like, how'd that go?
It did hurt my feelings, of course. But I guess over the years he had mentioned things about things he liked, things he didn't like. And I remembered them, accepted them, and, we just didn't really revisit them. And when I mean like things like lingerie or dress up or like things like that, he doesn't really, it wasn't a thing for him. Now his thing is, well, you don't dress up for me. You don't spice things up very often. I guess I took it more to the other, like to the extreme kind of, where I thought that he did or didn't like something, and now he's saying he does. Over the years, when I've asked him, do you like this? Do you don't like this? Are you satisfied with this? Everything was just okay. He didn't really voice any concern until now, whenever, I'm starting to open up more to him, telling him more of how I feel, going through my therapy, and dealing with my anxiety and depression. I have to unfold these things, and he's just not comfortable listening to a lot of it. Um, so with going back to our sex life, I just feel like I'm not satisfying him at all when we're having sex.
Is he satisfying you?
No.
So I guess I'm just, with these questions I'm asking you, how long can you guys keep doing this? Both you and him. I mean, it just sounds like, for me, I've been in relationships, certainly not a decade long, where you're not happy, and maybe you reach a point where you're just like, you both realize you're miserable, and then you try to address it and you try to make it work and see if you can fix the problem. If not, your relationship ends. But like, you're married or not, kids or not, you guys are both human, and you're going to reach a breaking point of being miserable. And I just can't imagine the way you sound or the way you feel, that he can be this oblivious to how miserable you are, unless you are hiding it or putting on a good face. And if he is the type of person who truly just doesn't give a shit, then that's your answer. It's sad and difficult as it might be.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, you said to me you're afraid of how difficult he might make your life if you decided to ask for a divorce. And again, I'm only going on by what I'm hearing now. How much more difficult or miserable could you be if you had your freedom, or left a toxic situation where you felt like someone didn't give a shit about your feelings, or didn't hear you out, or wasn't interested in your happiness? I mean, even just being single and just knowing that you had the possibilities of meeting someone new is a more exciting frame of mind.
Yeah.
And then, there's a good chance he is, exes can be bitter and petty, especially early on, might be frustrated, and he'll have to try to get over that. And if the worst case scenario, he just continues to be a dick, which sucks. I mean, but at least that will only be a part of your life. Now it's all of your life. Now it's where you go home. The place, your home, which should be the safest and most relaxing kind of sanctuary, is probably a place where you avoid going, or you get anxiety, or you're just like, oh my, he's home from work. Like, now we're gonna.
Well, and that's kind of part of the problem is I work from home, take care of my kids from home, take care of him from home. I think whenever I leave the house, I feel almost free. I don't enjoy coming back home. I don't enjoy when the kids are gone, because I have to be with him more than I actually like to be with him, because I'm so afraid of what's going to happen. Is there going to be an argument? Are we not going to enjoy our time together? I put all these high expectations for me to make it better, and I don't feel like it's being reciprocated most days.
So, yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to come to a realization and decide, is there a chance to fix this relationship? To what you're describing now, it doesn't sound like there is. You're describing a situation where you're miserable, and you don't even know how much effort you're willing to put in anymore. Regardless of that, the way you see it, he's not interested at all of addressing anything. I mean, I don't know how he could be comfortable with this environment, but it sounds like you think he is. And if that's how you feel, then it doesn't matter how badly you want to make this work. If he's not interested in fixing anything, it's never going to get better. So if that's the case, then you need to decide whether, and it's the answer is there's nothing to decide. I mean, you can't stay in this environment for that much longer. I mean, you're just, once you've planted that seed in your head of maybe wanting a divorce, it's not going to, since the situation's not going to get better, your desire to maybe have some freedom isn't going to change. It's only going to grow.
Yeah. My question now is, how do I bring these feelings up to him other than just being so blunt and on it? I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
sounds
obviously I don't want to hurt his feelings,
you.
but
Yeah, well, you might have to. I mean, if anything, if there's a chance of him doing anything, it sounds like, and I think this is fairly common, is that he's gotten so comfortable, he ultimately doesn't really respect or consider your feelings as that important. You know, he kind of dismisses them or blows them off or just assumes you'll get over it. From what you're describing, he doesn't sound like he's afraid that he's going to lose you or you're going to be gone, that he has gotten comfortable with your kind of your caregiving mentality. And so if he's ever going to change, you're going to have to scare the shit out of him. You know, you're going to have to make him believe that you're actually at the end of your rope. So I think you shouldn't worry about hurting his feelings. You're not doing it to hurt his feelings. You're not doing it to be mean. You're just being honest. And if it happens to hurt his feelings, well, then that might be the one thing that sparks some real change. I wouldn't get your hopes up, but
yeah.
I wouldn't be afraid to hurt his feelings. If being honest with your feelings about how you feel and what you're not receiving in a relationship hurts their feelings, then that's his problem. Especially if he's not willing to do about it. You're not saying it in a cruel way. You're basically begging and pleading with him. I want to make this work, but here are our needs. And do you want? It sounds like, have you presented the possibility of couples therapy to him? I mean, it's not, and he's done.
Yeah, I have. I've mentioned, like I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy with how we are as a couple.
And he says what?
And when I mentioned marriage counseling, he's like, we don't need marriage counseling.
Well, it's not really for him to decide. I mean, in a sense, he can just, if he can say you don't, but if one party in a relationship thinks they need relationship counseling, then the relationship needs it.
Okay. So
two people have to decide that they don't need it, and they could still be wrong. But if one person thinks the relationship is struggling to the point where they need a third party to maybe help, then that's what the relationship needs, because one person can't just dismiss the other person's feelings about the state of a relationship. I mean, they certainly can, but it doesn't make them right. And so you just be like, well, if you need to make that clear, like he's dismissing your feelings once again. And well, I'm miserable. I've been miserable. We can't you seem disinterested in doing this. And you could be like, well, maybe you're not hearing me. Maybe I'm not articulating it a certain way, but either way, I don't want to keep feeling this way. But again, I don't think he ever really believes you're going to leave. So he's not taking your feelings seriously. So being honest is what you really need to do, and not worrying about hurting his feelings is what you really need to do, because you've been avoiding that.
I have for many years. Just kind of put my feelings aside for him for so long that I don't know how to bring mine up to the table most days.
I think work with your therapist or something, but you're going to have to. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point?
Nothing really.
Yeah.
I mean, other than my comfortable lifestyle that we live, I don't really have any. Doesn't sound
that comfortable. I mean, how comfortable can you be when you sound like this? You sound miserable.
I am.
So, and I've been in relationships where I'm fucking miserable, and that sucks. You just wake up every day, you're just like, today? So you wake up, you want today to be over with, because like that person's just there, and you've tried, and you're just like, you don't get along, and you kind of hate each other.
I have just been pretending for so long. I think that's what it comes down to, is just I've been trying to just
there you go.
Seem happy, seem interested, because it's just what he needs. And
I think you need to stop saying that to yourself. And if that's what's really going on, then you just need to stop doing that. What he needs or caring about him. Like you're not his mom.
Yeah.
So stop acting like his mom. And I think you need to kind of hold yourself more accountable that way. Because if you can't make excuses for him or oh, well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. You just be honest. That's all you can really do at this point. And I'm sorry you're going through it and it sucks, but get yourself out of the situation, maybe give it a last ditch kind of effort, bring up therapy again, make it very clear that if he's unwilling to make it work, then it's over. Like, not that you think it's over or, just this is where you stand. And he might make threats and throw a temper tantrum, and that's fine. You'll make it work. People do get divorced. It sucks. It can be a very difficult time in someone's life. I understand that, but people do get through it, and they do get over it, and it might take some time, but maybe in 2 years you can be in a much better situation if you do something about it. In 2 years, if you stick with him and you guys do nothing about it, you'll be exactly like this, maybe more miserable.
You said something that really kind of hit home, was he's not probably afraid of losing me at this point because he doesn't think that I'll ever leave him.
Well, there you go. I mean, he's giving you all the clues. He's leaving you the breadcrumbs. I think you just need to find some courage and some strength to do it. And I know it's scary, but and hopefully you have a support system or friends or family to get you through that. Because it can be scary and you'll feel lonely, but you're already alone right now. I mean, every time you get scared of losing this situation, just remind yourself how miserable you are in the situation you're afraid to give up.
You're right. I just need to be a big girl and do what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And it sucks, and I'm sorry, but it's kind of what you need to do.
Okay. So one other question for you then. When I do tell him this, and I do mention couples counseling again, if he dismisses it or if he accepts it, how do I completely owe myself to fixing the problem if he's actually willing to do the work? Because I'm so unhappy now.
Well, I mean, if you're not, don't offer him the opportunity to fix it if you're already checked out. You decide for yourself.
Okay.
And if you're willing to make it work, then see if he is, but hold him accountable.
So basically stop giving him the upper hand and making those decisions,
Start making your feelings a priority.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Best of luck. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
You too.
All you family planners out there, if you're looking to put a baby in the oven, Modern Fertility is here to help.
2021. What else are you doing but staying home and doing it?
It's always a good time in the new year to do a health check. And for the people who are wondering if now is the time to start a family or maybe just get ahead of it, maybe you want to start a family when you're 10 years from now, but it's great to have the information now to see what that's like. There's things we can do to put ourselves in good situations, right? To if we want kids in the future.
And it's not just about family planning. Remember, it's also about getting to know about your women's overall health.
Which is important to me, too.
It is very important.
Modern Fertility is here.
I'm glad you're concerned for my health.
I'm concerned for everyone's health. What if I told you, Chrissy, that you could get important fertility insights without going to the doctor? Would you believe it?
I know this to be true because I've used Modern Fertility.
Well, Modern Fertility makes that possible with easy at-home fertility hormone testing. Knowledge is power, and when you know more, you can make better decisions for your body, your health, and your future. There aren't many decisions bigger than having a kid, but for many women, it's what I hear, their fertility is a big question mark. Traditional testing with your doctor can cost over $1,000, but Modern Fertility only costs $159 to get the same information. And if you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL, then you get $20 off your test. So that's only $139 for those who aren't great at math. Right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off their test when they go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. That's right. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. modernfertility.com/VIALL. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or thousands it could cost at a doctor's office. How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's your name?
Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah. How old are you?
I am 25.
Awesome. How can I help?
I wrote in about a situation with this girl, and I have some more clarity on the situation, but I kind of want to get your take on it. And how to put what I'm thinking into practice.
All right. Well,
basically.
let's hear it. Let's hear the story. What's going on?
Okay. So last August, I was going out with this girl a couple times, and I had recently gotten out of a relationship and sort of my first big heartbreak. So I wasn't really in a place to date, or I figured that out. But the girl I was dating, the new girl, she um, was pretty much what I was looking for, and like what I considered long term. So once I figured out that I just wasn't in the space to date, I didn't want to go any further with her and fuck around with her, because I was like, she had potential, so I guess wanted to keep her in my back pocket. Time goes on and we kind of decide we're just going to be friends, and time goes on and I end up meeting my ex and getting a lot of closure from that situation.
What do you mean? Like you met someone who then you started dating and then they're now your ex, or you like ran into your ex?
The heartbreak girl. So she wanted to meet up for drinks and I foolishly said yes, and just got a lot of closure from that, and realized I had been hung up on her and couldn't really see the potential that was in front of me with this new girl.
Okay.
And so with the new girl, we stayed friends. And then when I met up with the ex and got that closure, that was, I think, in November, late November, right before Thanksgiving.
And so that was a positive conversation? Like you went and met up and you felt like it wasn't. So why do you say you got closure from it?
I guess it wasn't a positive. Like I was pretty bottled up about how I felt about this situation and kind of like got really upset. It was positive in that I realized I was better off without that girl in my life.
Why is it anything but positive then? I mean, you got clarity. Clarity is one of the best things you can get out of any conversation, whether it's with someone you're dating or with someone you used to date or not dating. I mean, it stings a little bit sometimes, but really frees us up.
I agree then. It's definitely
bad for your ego, good for your soul. You know?
Yes.
Clarity.
It didn't take away the pain or the sting of it, but I was much more able to move on and not romanticize that old relationship.
That sounds like an excellent conversation that you had.
Yes.
All right.
So
I only point that out because I think when you tell that story even to yourself or other people, I think it's important for you to just call it positive. Think of it as positive, and don't let your ego think of it as like not a great conversation or a disappointing conversation. I think the way you frame it to yourself plays a big role in how you think about it, interpret it, and how you can check your ego. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. And so that conversation was the impetus for me to reach out to this other girl, who I kind of put on the back burner, and I shot my shot and it went okay. She was sort of in a new situation with another girl, but that's murky because this girl is quote unquote straight and like trying to figure it out. So to me, I was like, if I can slide back into that situation, maybe like she'll choose me, kind of a thing.
The one you see life partner potential with is someone that she hasn't totally identified herself as being gay?
No, she is, but meanwhile, while I had said no to her, she kind of started something else with someone else.
Who was the guy?
A new girl. There's a lot of players in the game.
All right. So the person you saw potential with, that person is gay?
She is gay, okay. Yes.
And you shot your shot with her. And what happened?
Basically, she said, really, if there wasn't a question mark with the other girl, she would totally date me. That she had been really into me the first time we dated and was actually pretty disappointed when I had shut that down.
Okay. So you approached her, you kind of shot your shot, and she said, "You're great, and I otherwise would, but I'm kind of seeing someone else, and I want to see where that goes before I do anything with anyone else," right?
Yes.
Okay. And then what?
The last time we talked, we met up for a drink and she drove me back to my car, and afterwards, like, we kept the conversation pretty platonic, but then afterwards I was like, I texted her and I said, hey, even though we kept everything pretty platonic, our conversation, I like really wanted to kiss you at the end. And I said, I don't know if that's stupid. And then she called me up and was like, no, that's not stupid. I felt the same way. Like, and she was saying that obviously like we still have chemistry. So there was a really strong potential from my end of thinking, if I can hang around, like, because also the girl that she's dating is not in the same city. So I'm here, I'm like out, we already have like some mutual friends. Like,
Okay.
initially my thought was out of sight, out of mind for that other girl. I'm here and now. If I just make myself available, I guess, like maybe she'll see what's kind of in front of her being me.
And you're wondering, is that your question? Like whether you have the right game plan for this person? Is that your big goal? You want to figure out how to date this person, this girl? What do you want? Forget about how you go about it. What do you want? If I were a genie and I said, I got some free time today. When it comes to your relationship life, I'm here to grant any wish that you want. What would you say to me?
I mean, I think I would want to try and date her. I think I'm a little bit tired.
But
The
again,
uncertainty of it.
Okay, that's fine. If you're exhausted, I think you need to start, figuring out what you want. Again, I don't care. So you should just tell me the truth, like about what you want. Right. And if you are just exhausted, then there's your answer. Maybe it just kind of like, well, as far as this girl goes, in reality, she is giving you an answer. It doesn't matter if there's chemistry. Right. It doesn't matter if she would have wanted to kiss you. If she, her honest answer was, I'm in this situation right now and I want to see it through. And I want to make this other person a bigger priority right now than I'm willing to make you one. Mm-hmm. Right. This idea that, well, she like, we do this sometimes. We'll then all of a sudden feel like the friend or the parent to this person, and we'll start nitpicking the relationship that they have or what we think they have. Well, this person lives far away and I'm right here. Why would they want a long distance relationship when they can have a short-term relationship with someone as great as me? So I'll just remind them that I'm available. Like that's not the way to do it. Like she knows that she likes you. You've put it out there. You communicated it. That's great. And now what you should do is move on and live your life, not be available. You definitely do not want to let her know that you're waiting. Because if you let someone know that they're waiting, they'll tend to let you wait until it's convenient for them. So you'll just give her more permission to see this through with this other person. And then if it doesn't work out with them, you'll get this call 6 months from now. Hey, what are you up to? Let's grab a drink. But in the meantime, you should go. Anyone you date right now, anyone you get to know, they'll probably not hear of it. And if they do, it's not going to make them like you less. It'll make them like you more. They'll get a little jealous, and they'll maybe they'll be afraid of losing a good thing. Who knows? But the fact that you're exhausted, great. There's nothing to do anyways. You got your answer. So you definitely should stop thinking of ways of trying to change their mind. Yeah. Because that's making you exhausted, right? It sounds like. And it's making you question yourself, and then your ego's wondering why you're not good enough, and timing. You were caught up in this other person. You weren't ready to date this new person. New person started dating someone else. You shot yourself with a new person. Wasn't the right time. And who knows? Maybe they need to see this through. And if you both find yourself to be single in 6 months, then maybe you guys will see where this goes. There's nothing to beat yourself up over it. You didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. If they were that into you, then you would have gotten an answer that you wanted.
I guess my other question would be, I sort of introduced her to my friend group. Okay. She doesn't have a lot of gay people and gay community. So I was like, sure, you can come along. I was fine with her being around if I had invited her. Then might be selfish. I mean, because I want her to have friends and people she can relate to. But I don't know how to go about because I don't want to hear about her relationship.
So she's in your friend group?
Yes, essentially. Not really because the pandemic, but
you're being very unclear with everything.
Yeah. she gets invited to things, and again, I'm not even like I'm not doing much because of the pandemic, but I see that people hang out and I see she's there and I'm like, those are my friends, and like, I don't know.
You sent some text messages. This is a conversation between you and the new girl that you like.
Yeah, and that was sort of after trying to say again how comfortable I am with her, because I say something like, I'm not very honest or vulnerable easily. Like, my communication is bad, honestly.
I can tell.
And so yeah, I have way too many thoughts to put them into words, like,
Yeah,
concisely.
Could be something you could practice on. Just say what you feel. Stop discounting your feelings. It sounds like you do that a lot, where you'll have a thought and then you'll be in the middle of saying something and you'll kind of judge your own thoughts and feelings. Just say it. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe this last person stung you a little bit. I think that was a good exercise for you. Again, I think that was great clarity and closure, even though it didn't go your way. And here you are. You're already moved on to someone else. How bad was that? This past relationship, you dread having a conversation. I don't doubt that a lot of things were said that you didn't want to hear in the moment, but you survived it, and you even liked someone else.
Yeah.
You got over it pretty quickly, to be honest. You wrote, "I know I kind of said this before, but I really appreciate the communication we've had or do have. It's been honest, and that type of honesty hasn't felt like I had to work really hard to pull it out of me. It comes much more naturally. Just wanna say I appreciate that." She says, "Hey, absolutely. And the road goes both ways. Thank you for exactly the same thing. You've been nothing but transparent with me from the beginning, and that's just really rare, so know that I don't take that lightly." Yeah, just that message alone sounds like they like you, but they're just trying to be nice. And then you wrote, "I think that in part you set the precedent for being honest." So that's like you're trying to add to it, and we're, because this is like, oh, well, you're like, no, I really like you.
I know. I tried to shoot my shot again.
You can tell. I think that in the part you set the precedent of being honest with your feelings too. So thank you for that. I know good communication doesn't come naturally for me, so it's rare that I feel that way. Just saw that you said that was rare too. Haha, it's okay. We both know how much we love buzzwords, so cry face emoji. I mean, it just comes from a place of respect and care for you as a person. And I'm really glad you felt comfortable enough that you can tell me how you feel. And you write, "I mean, to be honest, I think it's a unique situation, my honesty. So it just kind of comes from a deeper place for me, potentially. Regardless, there's not many people I think have a connection with, and that's not lost on me." Yeah, you keep saying the same thing over and over, and she keeps saying the same thing over and over. You're just like, "Hey, you're special to me. I can't."
I'm cringing at my own words.
You're trying to tell her that she brings out the best in you, and you want to be next to her because you feel safer around than anyone else. And she's like, "Thanks for letting me know. That sounds really nice. I want to say something nice in return." She doesn't know what else to say. But it's pretty clear, yeah, she's just not in the right place to be in a relationship with you right now. She's either not interested in you at all, or she's just more interested in someone else. So I think you just need to let go of that. I think these are fine. These are great interactions in terms of, like, dating's hard, and she's just one person. I mean, is she that easy to communicate with compared to someone else? Or is she just different than the other girl who you really had a crush on and kind of broke your heart?
I think it's probably the second, that it's just a big contrast to that girl, which it was just like horrible conversations or communication. So
yeah,
I'm probably a little bit giving this girl too much credit, probably.
I think, since you are single, right, it's a great opportunity to work on how you communicate with people. You're doing a good job. Put it out there. You did a good job. I wouldn't regret saying how you felt. I wouldn't regret telling you your vulnerability. These are another excellent example of you being honest, not getting what you want, and surviving it. I think you just kind of almost need to change your perspective on some of these honest conversations and vulnerability that you're showing with people, and you can almost see it as a failure, or you see it as something that didn't go the way you hoped, and yet these are kind of positive moments for you.
Yeah, I think it's been a learning lesson on rejection, and I think that's been a good thing. So
As far as her being your friend group, I think you
Mhm.
need to stop telling her how great she is. I wouldn't be difficult, I wouldn't be mean, but don't let her think that you're waiting around, you know? Start
Mhm.
dating, be very chill, be very casual with her, and she knows where to find you. You've made it
Okay.
very clear that you are
Mhm.
into her. You don't need to keep saying it or reminding her. And I wouldn't, in a month be like, just, feel the same way.
Okay. I
Yeah.
won't check in on how her relationship is.
Definitely don't do that. Don't act.
Yeah.
Don't pretend to be her friend. You're
Yeah.
You're not interested in being her friend. So don't
Mhm.
lie to her about that. You've been very good about being direct. Don't go back on it. Don't pretend.
Okay.
So, all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye-bye. How's it going?
Hey, it's Rachel, 26.
Hi, Rachel. How can I help?
So I am mostly calling for a little perspective on kind of the situation I'm in with my boyfriend right now.
Okay.
We've been together almost a year. So we started dating not too long before the start of lockdown. So most of our relationship has been a quarantine sort of situation. And I think what I'm starting to notice is that we're at different points in our life. Not so dramatically, but just to give a little perspective, we're about the same age. We're only a few months apart.
Okay.
And I think when we were quarantining together, we both weren't really working. And so it was really fun. And I was in school. So that's why I wasn't working. And he lost his job to the pandemic. So that's why he wasn't working. And it was just like fun and rainbows. And we could spend every day together. I think around 6 months, though, like 6 months in, when I graduated, I kind of started noticing like, okay, I gotta figure this thing out. What am I gonna do? My lease up, where am I gonna go? I need money, stuff like that. And I kind of noticed that my boyfriend wasn't having that same kind of momentum of like trying to figure stuff out. And so now we're a few months later, and I'm realizing that he's finally started making a plan of like what he wants to do with his life. But I feel like it only came from me seriously asking him multiple times, like, dude, what the hell's going on? Like, and so he's able to do that because he has family support, and he does work part-time a few hours here and there. But I'm kind of getting to this point where like I have a job now, I have benefits and stuff like that. And I'm kind of noticing like, are we just completely incompatible in the things that we want? And I really just have this fear that the only reason he's seriously considering his career and life stuff now is because I was like, dude, what the hell's going on? You haven't been working for, the greater part of a year. Like, what do you want to do? And so I guess I just need perspective on how to handle the situation, because now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting a little bit of like a control freak, where every time he asks me for advice, I'm kind of like, just let me do it. Because now I'm at the point where I don't want to say I don't have faith, but I'm kind of losing faith that he's going to like move at the pace that I would want him to.
It sounds like maybe there's like a bigger issue than just his lack of motivation. Because the job part is like one thing, right? And he can also be insecure about losing his job, and sometimes we are surprised by how people react. It sounds like you would be the type of person who's like, well, if I'm going to be insecure about if I lost my job, I'm going to do a bunch of things to put myself in a situation to get a new job. And that makes a lot of sense, but some people kind of do it differently. They will act like they don't care, and maybe just feel lazy or act lazy because it's just easier to pretend they don't want a job, or they're just using this time for themselves or to focus on a new relationship rather than, put themselves out there and try to find a new job only to get rejected again. So
Right.
there's that too. So he's going through something. So it would be normal for him to maybe like handle this stressful time in a way that might be different than how you handle it. So that's just a different kind of how he processes his feelings. It's good that you're self-aware in the sense that maybe you're reacting to his struggle in a way that you don't even know is the healthiest approach. Getting frustrated with him or dismissive or acting like, saying, well, let me just do it, and when he's asking for advice is definitely not the way to go, because you're discounting his ability. You're indirectly suggesting that you don't have faith in him. More than anything, I think we want from our partners that people believe in us. Like if I were, you're dating someone and you're just like, there's being lazy, and then there's just like, well, you don't think I can actually do this, so that's why you're doing it. If he doesn't feel like he believes in you, then that's going to be a big problem. That's just going to snowball to other problems, and then you guys will just separate. But other than the job part, and listen, like we've said this before, like someone's motivation is a quality that people are attracted to or not attracted to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are someone who finds motivated people attractive, then and he might just in general not be an overly motivated person. Maybe he, like I said, if his family comes from money, his sense of urgency just isn't there. Maybe he's just not your guy. But you just have to decide, is this something he's going through, or is this just kind of who he is? And and
I think that's the fear, because he, just based off like how long he was in college and different things, like he's really at the beginning of his career. So I don't really have a lot to draw back on. Like I don't have enough like data to say, is this just a hard time in your life like we're all going through, or is this how you are? And I think like we have different backgrounds. Like I said, he has family support, and I think one of the things that I'm nervous about is that question, is he just going through something, or is this the way he is? Because it kind of feels like maybe there's this value mismatch, because I feel like I grew up where I had to figure things out and be financially independent at a much earlier age than he has had to. And it just makes me nervous that like our priorities aren't aligned. And so kind of the like meta issue that I'm running into is like, I understand there's a compatibility thing about motivation and whatever, but I'm feeling so anxious and insecure. Is this who he is, or is this a moment that like, I can't even take the time to like evaluate if it's a compatibility thing, because I'm so anxious all the time that like everything is going to go wrong and I'm going to miss all of the signs. And so I just need a little perspective. I think the perspective thing is like, how do I get out of my head long enough to see if this is a compatibility issue, or if this is just like me kind of being a little controlling because I'm in a moment of uncertainty.
Well, there you go. Well, I think the perspective is like you're identifying maybe some of your shortcomings. Is that sounds like you recognize maybe your ability to come across as maybe a little controlling, and you might be the dominant personality in the relationship. And so just recognizing it allows you to, hopefully stop doing that. You haven't been dating this guy this long, right? So you recognize that there might be things that you're seeing that don't necessarily define him as a person or the relationship. You recognize that this could be just a very unique period in your lives. You got a pandemic, you got the fact that he lost his job. No one likes to lose their job. It makes us feel very vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, we have a hard time being ourselves. I think if you choose to continue to date your boyfriend, I think, try to chill out. You don't focus on your career. It's still your career, regardless of if you work it out with this guy, you're not his mom, right? You're not his guidance counselor. You're not his mentor. So stop acting like all those things from time to time. It sounds like you recognize that you might have a tendency of doing it. Let him figure it out. If you're going to be his girlfriend, support him. Tell him that you believe in him. Make him feel like you believe in him. Don't be his mom or his dad who like has a kid who comes home and is like, hey, Dad, can you help me with your homework? And it's just easier for you to do their homework or something, or your mom, whatever it is, like just be his girlfriend. I don't care if you're a guy or a girl. We all like to feel like our partners believe in us and that they're to support us. If he asks for advice, give him the advice he's asking for and just stop. If he's asking you to listen, listen. And then focus on your career. And if you spend 6 more months in this relationship to get to know him a little bit better and it doesn't work out, it's fine. The perspective I think maybe you need to really focus on is that you don't have to figure out everything in the next 6 months or a year. And an investment in this relationship that might not work out, you're still probably going to learn something from it, right? You can't get all the answers right now.
Yeah.
As someone who has a tendency of being controlling, that's your issue. You're trying to control the future. You're trying to predict the future now. You're trying to say, well, what data do I have right now? And do I have enough data to figure out, am I going to be happy with this person in a year or 2 years, or am I not? Well, we might not have all the data that we need to. We almost never have all the data, especially in a new relationship. So do you like him enough to keep hanging out with the guy? Do you like him?
I do. I really like him.
Yeah. So I think maybe just try to chill out a little bit. And it sounds like with your own professional life, you're still figuring out stuff, do you currently have your dream job or your current career? You're still kind of in this growth pattern yourself, right?
Yeah, because I just graduated from my graduate program. So this is my first job out. So yeah, I think I'm just projecting all of the pressure I put on myself onto him, knowing that we're not at the same point. And I'm just like, I think you nailed it. Like, I'm trying to get all the answers now, and it's kind of making me crazy in a person I don't like. So yeah, I guess, do you have any tips for what can I do to distract myself? Like, I feel like I need to fake it till I make it. And I'm just like, well, how can I fake it in terms of like chilling out until I actually, because right now I've tried not to be overbearing, but my thoughts are still kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And
does he talk about his dreams or what he wants to do or things he thinks he might want to do? Does he at least think about those things? Or is he just kind of like, I don't really give a shit?
He's a very vague. And I think that's one of the things. Like, he's like, I want to get married and have a house and kids. I'm like, cool. What else? And he's like, I don't really know.
Well, he might not know yet.
He doesn't. And I think that's, my brain goes to the negative of like, if you don't know, it means you don't care. And it's like, knowing him as a person, I don't think he doesn't care. I think he just
might not know. I mean, a lot of people don't know in your mid to early 20s of what they want to do with their lives. They're just kind of figuring it out. A lot of people, they'll go to college and then they'll choose a major based on what they think they like, or maybe their parents told them to choose it, and then they'll do that major and they'll hate it or something, or maybe they'll do the major and it's fine, and then they'll get a job in that major and then hate that job. I was an accounting major. I fucking hated it. Right. And then you just kind of have to live your life to figure out what you actually do and don't like based off of the choices you make, right? Because a lot of times when we're younger, we're making choices based off the things that we think we're supposed to do or our parents tell us, right? So he might, because of, and you mentioned your background, because you were forced to be more self-sufficient earlier in life, you were forced to like face some of those questions earlier on, right? And kind of hold yourself accountable. And maybe he was a little bit, not necessarily spoiled or pampered, but he lived maybe a little easier life than you. And so he was able to kind of like not think about that. Maybe he just, he trusted his parents and the people around him who said, you're going to go to college and you're going to do this. And he's like, okay, guess I'll do this, right? And now he's kind of faced with actually asking himself these questions. He's a more transitional period than you are. So if you like him and the relationship is relatively healthy, you enjoy spending time with him, I would focus on that. I would express gratitude to those things that you have and complain less about what you don't have. And the little things you can do in the moment, definitely don't badger him. Maybe chill out on this topic. Like, don't ignore the red flags, right? Because if you're ultimately attracted to a motivated person, that might be what could end this relationship, but you don't feel confident enough to know that's who he is at this point.
Right.
And I think, a good practice for you would be learning how to try to be supportive. It's hard sometimes to be supportive because sometimes we try to be supportive and really fuck up You know, guys do it a lot, right? You know, our girlfriends will like talk to us and be like, I just want to vent. And you're just like, great, let me ignore what you are saying to me and let me just tell you what I think you should do. We do that all the time as guys, right? And even though we have the best intentions of being supportive, we end up frustrating our partner more. Focus on your career right now, because you have a lot of questions about the things that you want to do. You know, you don't have everything figured out either. So focus on what you can control, and that is your career. Let him focus on his stuff. And in the meantime, just be supportive. Let him know that you believe in him. And as far as that goes, yeah, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, I don't know if I totally believe in you, but just it's nice to hear. It's so nice. I mean, I think sometimes is we have such a tendency in relationships to, you know, pick on, and like we like to tease each other, and sometimes it's how we show affection. But like, I don't think we take enough time in relationships to like let the other person know that we're dating, that you believe in them and that you're proud of them, and that you compliment the things that they do, you know, whatever it is. And that it sounds like he could use a confidence boost maybe right now. And as his girlfriend, you could go a long way to make him feel more confident.
I appreciate your take. I think like it's hard to talk about these things with him because obviously it's very sensitive for him. And I'm just like, I just need I need a third party view. So yeah, I think you're right. I think just being truly supportive, not supportive in name, is something I can work on, and just like trusting the process, because everything is good. And I'm not just saying that, like I can write a tangible list of everything that's really great. So I think maybe I'm going to chill out and let it run its course and just see what happens.
It's really nice to express a sense of pride in the person you're dating, and it makes people feel real good when they hear that from their partner.
Yeah.
So give that a shot. And in the meantime, if nothing changes and he does seem to get lazier and lazier, and there's really no motivation, and he seems and more than anything, if you find that he's content with how things are, that's a red flag, right? But it doesn't sound like you're entirely sure he's even content with the way things are. This might be how he's handling a very vulnerable time in his life. But eventually he's going to have to pick himself up and get going. And so if like in a year or something he's still the same way, then maybe you guys aren't compatible. But
yeah,
try to be a healthy support system and see if that changes things.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm a great big fan of the show, so I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening. Congratulations on finishing your graduate program. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it sounds like you might be, and this is a compliment to you, but you could be an intimidating person, right? You know, you've worked really hard, you've accomplished a lot, and you know, sometimes guys can be intimidated by that a little bit. You know, he lost his job, and here's his girlfriend kicking ass. You know, he'll be fine with it, and he can be fine with it, but make him feel good about himself.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
Best of luck. Take care. How's it going?
Pretty good. My name is Tori, and I'm 20.
How can I help, Tori?
And I guess I'll start by just giving you a little backstory.
Great.
So I've been talking to this guy for a few months. It's been going really well. I'm really excited about it. This is the first kind of relationship I've had so far. I've been mostly just focusing on school, but there are like a few things I'm a little worried about. So we met because we go to colleges in the same city. And we've been hanging out, but he lives across the country. So obviously, like during breaks and stuff, he goes home. And before he met me, he decided that he wanted to transfer to a new school closer to home next year. Meaning in the summer, he will be going home for the foreseeable future, and I don't know if I'd ever see him again. And I could possibly do like long distance, but I just don't think that's for me. So that's kind of one problem. And another thing is that right now, his friends aren't too happy with us hanging out. They want to keep their bubble pretty small, which makes sense because of COVID, but I am like getting tested at my school. So it's just like frustrating for me because it seems like they're trying to make him choose between them and me. So I guess my question for you is, do you think it's worth continuing this relationship just so I can get good experience, because I've never really had that before, even though there's kind of an expiration date on it, because I'm kind of planning on ending it before summer. And even like with all the stresses with his friends and stuff, that's just like a huge headache. It makes it really hard for us to hang out. So yeah, that's like my first question, but I'm also kind of wondering if you have advice for like a new relationship, because that's also a little stressful. Like being committed to someone, like that's just not something I'm used to. That
Well,
it's making me want to pull back, and I just don't want to self-sabotage.
yeah, I think it's good that you're self-aware to recognize it's your first relationship,
Yeah.
which sounds obvious, but it sounds like knowing that it's your first relationship, you sound aware that, you're learning as you go. And like
Yeah.
anything, if you learn as you go, you're going to get some things right and some things wrong. Right? So it's good to know that, because sometimes when we meet someone for the first time, we fall in love. A lot of people have, and the tendency to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so in love, and our love is so powerful. We will face anything," and it feels that way, but that's not in reality. So to answer your first question, I mean, if you're saying like, "Hey, there's an end date, there's an expiration date on this relationship," that's kind of natural. So in the meantime, I'll just keep talking to a guy I enjoy talking to, and when it ends, it ends. And like you said, maybe you're just really kind of getting experience communicating with a guy, talking about your feelings, right? It's good to understand yourself, how you are in relationships, and so you can kind of just be in tune to your feelings. So like that kind of self-awareness, right, of knowing it will end, and how do you feel about these situations and how you communicate could be a really good learning experience. The risk is, we like to lie to ourselves about how much we care about situations or how little we care about situations. And if that is the case, you could be setting yourself up some real disappointment in the future when it does end. It's just like, oh, I'm fine. I don't really care. I know he's going to be gone, and ending it now versus waiting until you're more emotionally invested, could make it harder to move on, because a lot of the times when we break up with relationships, we think about how much time we invested in the relationship and that makes the breakup sometimes harder. We shouldn't, but it's easier said than done not to. So it's fine if you do. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. As far as friends go, I mean, it's pretty common, when you're younger, friends can be cliquey, and especially when guys and they all start meeting new girlfriends, the guys get to see less of their friend or spend less time, and they feel like less of a priority. It's a little territorial. COVID or not, that's not the first time. I mean, first time I got a girlfriend, it was like, yeah, my friends were kind of pissed. It was like, we never see you again, and then my friends got a girlfriend, and it was the same thing, it all kind of happened. So I think it's good that you are self-aware about it, and it's most likely, whether he was moving or not, or whether his friends were welcoming, chances were he wasn't going to be your guy,
Yeah.
You're
exactly.
20. Maybe, who knows, but 1 out of 5
Probably.
or something. So
Yeah.
I think you're welcome to keep hanging out with this guy, but just know that you might be risk. Is there a part of you that's convincing yourself to do that because you really just don't want to let him go, or because you really like him? Is there a risk on that? I mean, how much do you like him?
I do like him a lot, but I know that as time goes on, I'm going to like him more and more. So that's why I'm hesitating, because I don't want to set myself up for heartbreak. But right now, it's not like I'm not like in love with him or falling in love with him or anything like that. It's definitely not very serious right now. I just don't know how it's going to be like in the summer.
Another approach that you could maybe take, right, is because sometimes we find ourselves in situations that, maybe you've committed more time, or maybe you've been dating someone for a few years and you're invested, and you feel like the relationship's pulling away, and sometimes we have a hard time. We kind of do the opposite of what we feel like we should do. Like sometimes we give more, we push more, and then that just kind of pushes the person away. So because you like him, he's moving, maybe this be a good time for you to just end it, right? Very maturely, and just say, hey, listen, let's just be honest with what this is. I really like you, but here are the reasons why I think maybe we should just end it now before we, get more hurt. See how he responds to that. He might just be like, you know what, you're right. I probably should I just want to focus on my friends and family at home. And that might be tough to hear, but that's okay. Like that would be actually a great answer to young people being kind of mature about their situation. And
Yeah.
or maybe he responds in a way where it might surprise you. He's like, well, actually, I really like spending time with you. I really, really miss you. And so that will certainly, I think, help you learn or recognize that, when you're not getting what you want in a relationship, you can hold your partner accountable. It's like, play games, but you're just like, all right, if you want to prioritize your friends, that's okay. Like right now, maybe your friends are a priority in your life. And if you, whatever your age is, if you're going to be in a committed relationship, there's an expectation of that person making you a priority to a certain degree. This might be a good opportunity to kind of get good at setting expectations for yourself in a relationship, and you can have a conversation with someone while you like them, you recognize there's a good chance it could end anyway. So you're kind of playing with house money, so to speak. It's almost that practice of like saying, hey, I like you, but I want X, Y, and Z in a relationship. I think that's super reasonable. Totally fine if you don't want to give it to me, but I want to find someone who does. And it might be a good practice for you to say that to someone who you like, because I think it's important for everyone in a relationship to be able to set their expectations of how much of a priority they expect to be in a relationship. So that might be the most productive approach, because just continue to do this just for fun does run the risk, like you said, of becoming more invested, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in this period, you should be as honest with him as possible about your feelings and then see where it goes. Give him an opportunity to respond. But you definitely have no reason to pretend to not care about things. And you have no reason to pretend to I'm just going to play it cool and just be chill because I don't want to make anything wavier that needs to be if it's going to end. I think you should do the opposite approach. I think you should be as honest as you want, or you should be totally honest, express your feelings, whatever they are, and get good at communicating those feelings with someone that you are interested in. Because that's probably that's a skill a lot of people we don't practice or start doing until we get a little older and more comfortable. And you're kind of in a situation where it's like, fuck it, I'm just going to be honest. What do I have to lose? I think it's going to end anyways. I'll just tell them how I feel.
Yeah.
So I would maybe do that.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. That helps. And I think the other part to my question is, so I am really excited about him and I like him, but sometimes I do feel myself pulling away just because everything's new and I'm not used to talking to someone all the time and being committed to someone in that way. And so I don't want to self-sabotage and ruin it for myself. Not even just with this relationship, just in the future, because I feel I do that a lot when I'm talking to someone. I'm just oh, it's just easier. It would be easier just to be myself. You know what I mean?
You're 20. There's a time in our lives sometimes to be selfish, and I think that's okay. I think sometimes when we're younger and we're well, I'd like a boyfriend now, and so we feel I should have a boyfriend, and I want to be a good girlfriend or I want to be a good boyfriend. So these are sacrifices I need to make, again, because if you are going to be in a committed relationship, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to make them a priority to a certain degree, and you want to be made a priority. Maybe now's not a time for you to be dating if that's how you feel, right? Because maybe right now it's I want to focus on school. I want to casually date. You can casually date and make right now, it's better for me to make my needs a priority because of the goals I have, and that's okay. There's a time and a place of when you want to make certain sacrifices or when you don't want to. If you do really like someone, and you just have to decide whether you're willing to sacrifice some of your own free time, your personal time, your alone time, and it's just an exercise on getting good at prioritizing the things you want in your life. I don't know if that's necessarily self-sabotage than just being honest with yourself about what's most important to you and the goals that you have in the immediate future. I mean, what's the likelihood? Are you trying to settle down at 22, 23? I mean, it could happen, but is that a goal for you?
No, I definitely don't want to do that anytime.
All right, so it's not even a goal. So if it happens, it happens. But right now, it sounds like maybe your school and the things you want to do is the bigger priority. And so right now, just kind of be upfront and casually date and be very chill. That'll be very probably attractive for a lot of guys. Be like, oh, she doesn't even care. She's so indifferent about being around me. That will. And but just so that's a great opportunity for you to learn how to just be honest with your feelings, and just be very direct. You'll be surprised. The more honest and direct you are about where you stand on things, people find that to be very attractive. And then when you are in a relationship and you really like a guy, sometimes you just have to be okay with being disappointed. Sometimes we self-sabotage because we're a little worried that someone's not. It's our egos saying, I'm worried this person doesn't like me as much as we want them to like us. And so we'll just remove ourselves before we can find out the truth. So you just have to, face that reality and just be okay that like someone's not going to like you at some point. Getting your heart broken is good from time to time. It's good to feel some loss and make you kind of appreciate the things you have when you have them. So. But right now, I think for you, it's just it's okay to want to casually date and keep things pretty low key and chill.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your advice. It helped a lot.
No problem. All right, have a good one. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to check us out tonight for our Bachelor Recaps. And again on Wednesday with a new surprising guest you won't want to miss. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K. Subscribe, rate us 5 stars, all that fun stuff. We will see you tomorrow.